Welcome to Centered Presents The Future of Health. Join me, Christina Walecka, along with Dr. Molly Brown, as we dive deep into the world of brain-based wellness.
In each episode, we will explore cutting-edge insights and practical techniques that empower you to achieve optimal health and super high-energy living.
Tune in and start your journey toward a healthier, more vibrant you. Welcome back to Centered Presents The Future of Health. I'm Christina Walecka.
I'm Molly Brown.
And ladies and gentlemen, he's back.
I don't know how I got in here, but just showing up on the door, knocking. Hey guys, can I come in?
We always love to have Noah Moos visit us.
Anytime he wants, he's welcome to come podcast with us. But what we're excited to have our friend Noah Moos here again talking about is basically how simple health can be, maintaining health and sustaining health. But then how advanced it can be, right? Like we can bring in very advanced technologies, but we can also bring in the very basics of movement, clean air, clean water, a healthy outlook, positive social connection. And then we can go to the most advanced technology in the world in natural medicine. So we'll be exploring a whole range of modalities with the end goal of being a healthy and happy person.
That would start just the conversation today on talking a little bit about routine and how to live a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, so I think for me, one of the big things with routine is just movement, right?
Being around us.
Yeah, being around you
Always
guys.
moving.
Yes, always moving from Texas to Idaho. No, it's movement and just that's kind of like a foundational thing, right? For a lot of people is having that ability to like just move your body. And I think like sweating is like one of the people ask like, what's one of the most important things I can do for like my health? Mm-hmm. And it's sweat, right? And so I think one of the big things, there are a couple of the big things that we look at when we look at longevity. The two biggest indicators of longevity is the first one is your VO2 max. And the second one is lean muscle mass. Mm-hmm. And so being able to like VO2 max is basically how much oxygen you can exchange. So working on different areas where you're trying to build up your like, aerobic system. So if you've never worked out, it could be as simple as going for a walk or getting out walking 30, 40 minutes a day. And then trying to incorporate, so maybe once a week, a little bit of higher intensity exercise to push that up, but allowing your body to recover and just move. And then and then the second thing is building lean muscle mass. So trying to lift weights, 2 to 3 times a week, total body lifts. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could just start out with being, some push-ups and some air squats and things like that if you've never done it. And so for me, that's kind of the way that I structure my week is I might do 1 or 2 high intensity workouts on the Vasper, or I might go to, I grew up as a cross country and track runner. So I might go to the track and, run some like repeat 200s, repeat 400s, do something like more high intensity. And then the rest of the week, I use my like running or movement as like movie meditation. So I'll go out for 30 minutes to an hour, go get on a trail and just let myself just go and think about and process everything that we're doing. And then a couple times a week, I'm trying to, we call them the 5 basic human movements. I try to keep it really simple. A squat, a hinge, a push, and a pull, right? So squat, and then deadlift, pick something up off the floor, push, pull, and then some type of like core rotation. And,
do you want to demo this?
Yeah.
I think you want to demo
it. It's super easy. And you basically, those are the 5 basic human movements that we like all do, right? We do like a squat, a hinge, a lunge, a push, and a pull, right? And then some core stability. And if you can hit those 3 things, you can really cover a lot of basis, and it doesn't have to be super complex. So for me, that's one of the big parts of my routine on staying healthy is just like movement and exercise.
Yeah.
And, and it doesn't have to be like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. For a lot of people, it can start out just being like 30 minutes because some is better than nothing. And so finding a time to carve out 30 minutes, maybe an hour at most to start with can be incredibly beneficial.
But I like what you mentioned too, because I think a lot of people have the fear of like going into the gym and like, I can't go into the gym and start lifting weights when all these people around me are bodybuilders. And you mentioned things that are very easy by yourself, accessible, getting outside, doing them in your home. Like you shouldn't be scared to do those things.
Yeah, it's just, you can go on YouTube and like, just look up like, how do I do a squat? And, and people say, oh, like, it's like, it is funny, but like, like people are always so, and I think one of the things that people get really concerned of and a lot of, there's better ways to move and like those kind of things. But like the first thing is just start, right? Like, you know, your body will kind of adapt and like figure it out, but you're like, you can learn a lot of just like, you know, it's like if you're looking at those 5 basic human movements, you can just start in really just, if you haven't ever lifted, your body weight is just lifting that is good enough. And then you can progress to that where you pick up maybe 5-10 pound dumbbell. And, you know, you don't have to, you know, go out there and look like a bodybuilder or a power lifter or anything like that, doing any of the crazy things you see. It just is starting with some of those like basic movements and just figure out where your body is and just finding your body in its own movement and just letting yourself figure it out. And I think that's one of the things is people get so scared. Well, what if I don't lift right? What if I don't do this? And they've done tons of studies and and research studies that showing there's actually no ideal way to do something. Right. It's like when I look at, it's like when we
science for everything.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, and so
many trainers just lost their job.
I know. Right. Like it really is. And it's like being able to structure some things and have some accountability.
You could argue with anybody.
Yeah.
Well, you might want to do it like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do it like that.
So when the bros come up to you in the gym and be like, you should really do it like this, and just be like, I'm fine, man. Like,
I'm a believer in listening to your body. Like when I'm in a workout class and I'm done, I have no
She's done.
I will take a little nap in the middle, and I'm like, look, I've peaked. My body knows what it likes, and I feel like I need a little break, and I'm not afraid to take my break.
That's right. Child's poses for everybody in yoga.
That's my favorite position.
Well, and Christina, you're a big walker.
Yes, no.
So you start every day by walking, right?
And that's so healthy and necessary for me because you guys, like, we all go back to how do you take care of other people? You have to take care of yourself first. And my whole morning is spent, whether it's, if I have an hour, I have an hour, but I will try to do an hour and a half, 2 hours of walking. 1, it balances my nervous system. 2, it is my most creative space to think, to go through my day, to get organized. I am just on like another level, and it is what keeps me going and allows me to, again, go the next 8 hours of work and stay balanced.
Starting with some movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I've noticed it's going to be shocking to a lot of people, but I'm pretty high strung. Like
you, me, Molly, no.
And so one of the things for me is if I don't, that's why
you keep showing back up.
I know, right?
Worried about what we're doing.
Hello.
I don't want to miss out.
Yeah, I have some FOMO, and so for me, it's like if I like that's why I think some of the high intensity stuff is important for me. Is because if I don't get some of that like high intensity stuff, so it helps me to kind of burn up some of that stress hormone and like some of that just those neurotransmitters and that cortisol. And if I do it in a controlled fashion, right, like it just helps. It's almost like a reset in there. I was like, okay, because I will just accumulate a lot of that like norepinephrine, cortisol, things like that, just because of kind of how I'm wound a little bit, like in that like go pattern and like trying to do all the things I'm doing. If I go a couple like 2-3 days without working out, I start to feel a little bit more anxious and like overstimulated. I'm like, okay, like I need to. It was funny, like just I had like the last like 4 or 5 days, I'd had a little bit of like tough time kind of squeezing in some like workouts and stuff, and just a number of things had been going on, and I just like I got home one night and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to work out. And I just like put my running shoes on and I was like, I'm just gonna sprint up and down the street until I get tired. So I was like, I would like sprint and then I'd like walk, jog a little bit, then like sprint down the like other side of the street. I know my neighbors probably think I'm crazy, but it's okay.
I do it.
And you know, by the end of that, I was like, okay, like I feel much more centered and balanced. And so for me, I think that really like, like moving and finding that. And I know Molly, you're always going out like hiking, going out into, like every time she posts, I'm like, man, she's got like the best place to be. Like looking at all these like hikes and everything that you're doing. It's like, just find your movement, right? And, you know, I know my wife, Natalie, she cycles, does yoga. She mixes it up with all kinds of different things to just she likes variety in those things. So she'll go out and like, you know, they'll ride, 2-3 hours on a bike ride with a group of girls. And then she might do, an hour yoga session. She'll jump on the Vasper, she'll do some weight training on the ARX at our office, those kind of things.
Rock climbing.
Yeah. Doing all of that, getting struck by lightning in the mountains. That was that happened to her and our assistant Amanda when they were hiking in the Dolomites. The rock got struck by lightning and it went through both of them. So Yeah.
Oh
so.
my goodness.
Don't worry, she's alive.
Yeah,
I see her.
she's good. She's just on the other side over there.
That's a terrible story. Yeah, and for me too, being out in nature, movement in nature is like the most balancing thing I can do. And like the living in an area that inspires me, like every day I look out my window and I really feel like this is the most beautiful place I could ever be. I love where I live. And so being out and moving in nature is really balancing for me. And like you said, allows me to then give to other people.
Yeah.
Really feeds me at a deep level.
It's interesting too, actually, when you said that, it kind of brought up something. There was a study, I believe it was at the University of Michigan, that they took college students and they did a memory recall test. So they would give them a memory recall test, and then they would have one group of students walk through the building part of campus, and then they would have them come back and they would redo the test, right? So they would get a baseline on everybody. Then they'd send them out for a walk through like the buildings of campus. So like the more industrial part of campus, then they'd have them do it. And then they'd send them out into the arboretum, into all of like the tree, like foresty area, and have them walk there. And then they would do the same test. And they noticed that after they had walked in nature, in the green space, that they actually had better memory recall in there. So there is something about trying to find some green space as well too, right? Like, that kind of, they call it like what, forest bathing, but just nature has an effect on our body that, oftentimes like the industrialized areas, that can, it can be a little hectic to our nervous system, but that nature can actually be a really nice reset for a lot of people.
I think there's a lot of studies coming around like the green light and the green with brain memory, migraines, headaches.
Yeah.
So that natural light, those things that are free to everybody.
Yeah. So getting in that space and recruiting that. And then if you live in a major city or something where maybe you don't have as much access to green space or things like that, you might have to simulate it with like green light therapy or something along those lines.
Or bringing the nature in. That's what Tom talked about on our Cold Plunge podcast, is bringing a little bit of the ocean, right, in the middle of he was landlocked in Arizona, but having the grounding therapy and the ozone and cold plunging, getting the shock to your nervous system, and all the healing benefits of that. I think the grounding therapy is that's one thing I really notice when I'm in the cities, is I feel there's just, there's so much more stimulus. So being out in nature. So being out in nature, movement, and then we have our high level technologies, but those basics of ocean, mountains, green spaces, fresh air, unpolluted air is very calming, right? That's like how I love to be in those environments.
Yeah, it's funny. You talk about like the grounding effect, right?
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of my athletes right now are over in China at the Indoor World Championships. And so they kind of asked me, it was a quick trip, and they're like, what can we do for jet lag? Because basically some of them flow out. It's like, 13-hour difference. And I said, the first thing you're going to do when you get there is you're going to put your like feet on the ground, and you're going to connect with the earth, and you're going to find where the sun is. And you're going to wake up with the sun with your feet on the ground, and you're going to go to bed with your like feet on the ground when the sun sets.
Yeah.
And you're going to set your circadian rhythm based off of that.
Yeah.
And people don't realize how like grounding, like some of those things in nature can be.
Yeah. Well, that's actually is what resets your circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
Like if your brain is healthy and balanced, your body will naturally reset its circadian rhythm. But we're blocked by all the EMFs and not putting our feet in the ground, and we can't reset properly. So it was good advice, Noah.
Yeah, and it's cool because watching like all of them like get going, like this morning, it's like, man, they're all doing great. So right, and so it's cool, and so there are a lot of those things like just naturally that you can take advantage of, and if you're having sleep issues, if you're having things along those lines, that wake up with the sun, feet on the ground, get some morning sun. I mean, with you, it's like you're walking, right? Like getting out in those spaces, you're setting that whole area. And then people like, get outside when the sun's going down and, watch the sunset, get your feet connected to the ground, and it can just regulate those biorhythms. And that circadian rhythm is so important. And when it gets off, like, we know like all your hormones get off, everything else gets off when that isn't synced up.
Right.
So.
And then also the basics of clean food, right? Like eating food as unprocessed and whole as possible, right? I feel like we have to be so careful what we eat, just to make sure we're not consuming a lot of chemicals and toxins, although hopefully that's changing, right?
Yeah.
It's changing drastically right now, but the simplest whole foods are the most nutritious and the most energizing for you. So I think that the least amount of processing in our foods, the more energy we can get from it, especially because, the food sources are a fraction of what there was a book written long ago, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. Have you read it? Noah?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So when you actually read it, it was in when was it published? 1899 or something like that. And it's an old study, but it was very fascinating. Not only the fact that the physical body degenerated when the soil or when the introduction of white sugar happened to civilization, but also the morals and ethics of society degenerated.
Yeah.
Wow.
With processed food, processed sugar. And I've always found that very fascinating, because if we can keep close to the earth with our whole foods, not only does our physical body become perfect, but our ethical body, our moral body, our mental bodies also. The morals and ethics, they didn't even have prisons in native societies. And then when they introduced white sugar, crime started happening.
Yeah,
I find that fascinating.
Yeah, there's another book that I read. I think it was published in maybe the 60s or 70s, and it's called Nutrition and Crime, right? And it's a great book, super easy read. It's either Crime and Nutrition or Nutrition
Only
and Crime.
found in Noah's house.
Yeah, I actually found it in one of the guys that I learned from. I mean, he's in his late 70s, early 80s now, and he had just a library of everything. And I was just
discussing that very fast.
And I popped this, I was looking through it. I was like, oh, Nutrition and Crime. And I started to read it. It was a short read, but it was talking about how, deficiencies of vitamin B1, which is stripped out to process, refined carbohydrates, refined sugar, in all the refined foods. You need to process it out, and then supplementing it back in with the typical thiamine hydrochloride or something like that is normally put back in. Your body doesn't really absorb much of that at all. Even in the super high doses that are seen in supplements, thiamine, vitamin B1 is very tough to absorb unless it's in its very, very active states. So even supplementing it back in really doesn't do anything. And when you have this clinical deficiency in vitamin B1, you start to see rage, aggression, addictions, those kind of things. And it's interesting too, because if you look at what the clinical deficiency of vitamin B1 is called, it's called beriberi. And it's actually a word that I think it's I think it's an Ayurvedic word that means I can't. So a lot of times when we start looking at blood work, and I have patients that are like, I can't do this, I can't do that. You have those people that you deal with that they keep saying, I can't do this, I don't have the energy for this. You look at their blood work and they're actually low in vitamin B1, and you get them to start supplementing in bioavailable natural forms of B1, and all of a sudden they can, right? Yeah. And then it's you'll see these kids that are typically on processed food diets. You start to get them off of that. You get them on a more whole food, more back to the nature diet. You supplement in with some of those activated forms of those B vitamins, and they make revolutionary changes. I can think of so many of ADD, ADHD, hyperactivity, kids that have rage, aggression, those kind of things, right? And when you start to just feed them real food, balance the brain, give them some targeted support, it's wild what happens.
Yeah. But it's a good point, because you don't want to do all the fancy therapies and all the fancy supplements and all the, really expensive things. So many times we have people come in who are trying but then even the basics are missing. You want to correct the basics first. I love when I'm working with clients who have changed their nutrition, eliminated a lot of toxic influences from their life, and they're just ready to go. We just have to connect the dots. It's an accelerated result, but especially for the kids, right? If they're having so much processed food, it's just a setback. Yeah. And so it's easier if people have made those changes at the very beginning.
To full circle it, you just have to start. And I think so many people don't sleep is so important. Okay, try going to bed early. Start eating cleaner. Just try going for a walk. You just need to start. Yeah. And a lot of people don't. And that's...
Yeah, we always say and I kind of simplify it because there's so many different diets and things like that out there, and people are always like, well, what should I do? And I always say healthy plants and healthy animals make healthy people. So it's if you're eating
simple. Just say that.
If you're eating like properly raised like vegetables, properly raised like proteins, right? Probably raised vegetables, properly grown vegetables. Hey, I don't know, man. You could nurture those things. So like that's some healing energy in there. You're like raising these up. Like
You were scared. It's like you changed what you were gonna say at the last minute.
yeah. So properly, so healthy plants, healthy animals make healthy people. So, so it's like you just kind of find out where you're on that spectrum, right? Like it's like, some people might have like to be more plant-based. Some people might be more animal-based. And it's like, but I find that the magic is usually in the middle, but what works, everybody's a little different.
You also know your own body.
Exactly.
So what makes you feel good?
And it changes at different times in your life, right? But then accelerating past the very basics, right? Like clean food, clean air, clean water,
Good sleep.
then we have these incredibly advanced technologies. So let's talk about some of the things that we're excited about, like some of the, very advanced
There's so
modalities.
many.
There's so many. There's
so many.
The field of health and wellness. There's a lot of things that I don't find as effective and aren't as interesting to me. And there's a lot of things that I just can't wait to explore and apply in my practice.
For me, we always say, it's like we have our kind of like 4 pillars of health. We have structural health. So like, your muscles, bones, ligaments, nervous system, brain. We have your chemical health, which is your basically, nutrients, and then trying to get rid of like infections, toxicities, allergies, deficiencies. Then you have like your emotional or stress related health. And then you have like the physics or the mitochondrial component, which is where a lot of these technologies come in. And we always say it's like photons, protons, and electrons, right? So we're putting like light into the body at certain wavelengths and certain frequencies. We're putting electromagnetic fields or like protons and electrons into the body at certain frequencies. And, we always say nutrition is slow, physics is fast, right? Like, so that you need that nutrition to have that foundational thing. But when we see these, accelerated results, like if I have somebody who has a stroke and they've had trauma to an area of a brain, I can take a laser, I can put it over a specific area of the brain, I can take a pulsed electromagnetic field pad, put it over a certain area of the body, we can start stimulating that, create some recognition, and then boom, like in, a week or two, we've got somebody who was, in a wheelchair up and walking, right? Like we see those changes, we see those open up, and it's just being able to find where that energy deficiency is in the body and then how the body receives that. And so, it's like, I think that, photons, protons, and electrons are one of those areas where we can put energy in really quickly. And then oxygen is the catalyst, right? Like we don't function without oxygen. So how do we get oxygen? We talked about exercise, right? But then being able to use therapies like LiveO2 or LiveO2, right? Like where you're doing that alternating adaptive, like intermittent hypoxic, hyperoxic therapy to increase like oxygen flow in there, using things like hyperbaric, using things like oxygen bathing, like those kind of things can be really, really powerful in delivering oxygen as a body because it's the catalyst for everything that we do. And when you have absence of oxygen, that's why tissues often don't heal very well.
Yep.
So
Still, so even the advanced technologies we're using still use the basics: light, magnetic, sound, electricity. Right. It's really interesting that our most advanced technologies that give the accelerated result for healing are consolidated ways of natural.
it's the
things
5
that
elements.
naturally exist.
Like, right? Like if you look at it, it's like the 5 element theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have fire, which is light. Then you have earth, which is your magnetic fields. You have like metal or like wind, which is like your oxygen. You have water, which is, like there's different like fluid transport, sound waves, things like that can transfer through there. So like shock wave, those kind of things to transfer energy in there. And then you have wood, which is direct current, right? Like, so it's like those are the areas where you can put that energy into the body. And when you start to know, okay, well, this person is like, seems like they're a little deficient in this. And you can use some of that like 5 element typing from, acupuncture, Chinese medicine to kind of see what people are deficient in. And then you can use that to bolster up their system about how they receive those kind of things. So I always look at it, it's the 5 elements, right?
Yeah,
and so
true.
you've got those things coming in. They're just really concentrated delivery ways. So we have the freeway, which is nature, right? So you can go out and you can get in cold water, right? So yeah, like for water, you've got like cold plunging, you've got sound waves, all of that. And then you've got like the sun is your light, putting your feet on the earth is the ground. just moving and breathing is like your oxygen. And then, you know, I guess for wood, just like go hug a tree or something. Like just be in the forest.
Start a fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and actually that's where our role comes in, where we say the doctor of the future, right, is just someone who lets, like, maybe if those processes are blocked, where, okay, the cold water immersion, the sunlight, the food is still not working, right? Like something's blocked. I feel like our job is to free those blockages, right? So like if there's a high toxic load in the body and the organs and glands aren't working, the systems aren't working, we can facilitate freeing that up so the body begins to heal naturally, right? That's like that's the job of the doctor, right? Is to allow the body to get the body into a state where it can heal naturally. So where a lot of our work is in balancing the brain and resetting the nervous system so that the body can heal, right? So really, it's only when the systems become blocked that any disease or chronic illness would be initiated. And so that's our job, is to free that up so that the body can heal.
Yeah, and that allows you free it up, let the body heal. Then you can really take advantages of the natural things that are surrounding you. But the machines, devices you guys have, like the Livo2, what it does is it takes oxygen and it floods it into your body to reach the parts of the tissues that aren't necessarily getting it. So again, like we want people to be able to go outside and experience this and take advantage and really benefit from what already exists. But when you're blocked, you do need a little extra help.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in our last podcast, it was funny. I listened to it and I was like, I heard myself say,
God, I sound good.
I was like, wow. I was like, I didn't know I had that in me. No, one of the things that I always that we kept coming back to, right, is with any condition, right? Like, and I think this is how we kind of started with our work, right? Like, you have no idea if you can help somebody with MS or Parkinson's or, strokes or any of those kind of things. Is you just look, okay, well, where are they blocked up? Where is the imbalance? Like, what do they need? Like, where can we start pulling these like stressors off their body and just see what happens? And I think it takes pressure off of everybody in the situation, right? Like where we obviously are shooting for an outcome, right? Like we want to make this huge change. We want to like change lives. But if we just focus on, hey, we've got this toxic load. Let's just see what happens when we get this toxic load out. Let's see what happens in the body. Let's keep measuring this. Let's keep looking at this. Okay, like, you know what? Like we know that we've got oxygen deficiencies in this area. What happens when your resting like pulse ox is actually 99, right? Instead of like hanging out at 93 all the time. Right. And we can use some of these like objective measures, and then we can compare them with like objective testing, but then also the subjective. How are we feeling? So it really helps to just be like, hey, you know what, we're just, and that's what it is people come into our office a lot trying to figure out, like they're like, what are you going to do? And then we're like, we don't know until we go through all of our testing. And then we put the protocol together and we're like, these are the anchors we're going to try to pull off. And we're just going to see what happens. Yeah. Right. So.
And then it's like what sustains health, I feel like, is when you're in a balanced state where you can sustain your own health through positive social connection and nature, right? And healthy food. Yeah. And so then when you get to the point where you are feeling healthy and you can contribute in your own life and to society, then it's self-sustaining, right? That's where like I feel like people are so blocked off from the natural world right now that they just, that's where disease begins. Yeah. And so if we can restore a flow of health and then it is sustained through positive social connection, the natural world, and healthy food and water.
Creativity too.
Then we're all healthy. Imagine if the world was a healthy, happy, functioning unit. That's what our goal is. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, it's like clear out, like for each person, like clearing out all your like, like trying to clear out as much of your like garbage as possible, right? The garbage that's in your head. Yeah. We've all had our stresses, traumas, like everything that we've dealt with. And if we can start unpacking all those triggers so our nervous system can be like more regulated, we start feeding ourselves good food. We start taking advantage of like good movement, good
Right. That's a
energy.
good point. Don't you see that when people start feeling better, they start naturally taking better care of themselves?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
They're
Because
just-
their
It's
innate
easier.
intelligence is restored.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right? Restore as much as possible of the innate intelligence so that it continues to feed itself.
Yeah, clear out the mess, and that's what happens. We deal with like we like people will go through things. We all go through things, and it muddies up our water, right? And so if we have these ways of trying to like work through and look through all these things, we can like clarify the water. And then it's like when you're in like clear water, it's easier to see, move around. Like you want to be in it, right? And I think that's where a lot of people maybe could take some like hope for that. Is it's like no matter how muddy your water is, like just taking little bits of like just trying to purify it a little bit makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And so
It's tough to see in that moment, though.
It
When
is,
You're
yeah.
like
Yeah,
in
that's
that
where
muddy
you
Yeah.
need
water.
help, right? You
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
I love the point of healing through people.
Yeah.
Right. Healing through people. That's what people in the health field are aiming to do, and your social connection is aiming to do. But we can't use only machines, right? Or
Yeah.
only IVs or only whatever it is. We need each other to heal. I think that's like a really important point that I think Stephen made on one of the podcasts.
Yeah, and it got brought up in a few different situations, but everyone has someone who's willing to help. And you have to want to look, I know, but again, everyone has somebody who is willing to help, and it's taking that first step. And then slowly but surely, like you have to put in a little bit of work, but you will start to feel better, and you just have to start. It goes back to you just have to start.
And it's interesting. It was funny. Probably like 4 or 5 years ago, there's another doc in Austin that we'd worked on each other a bunch, and he'd been practicing for like 30, 40 years, and he had some students that were in shadowing him. And he invited me in because he knew we were looking for some new doctors in our practice. And he's like, maybe you could come meet some of these kids. Maybe one of them would be a good fit for your practice. And so I came over there, and we practiced legitimately a mile from each other. Right. And so I went still currently. Yeah. And
Moved together?
Yeah. No, and no, I moved. Actually, I just moved on the opposite side of him. So he's been in the same
1
place
mile
forever.
other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he, and one of the students was like, and he introduced me because I, got there a little bit after they had gotten started, and he introduced me, and one of the students goes, "Oh, this is the competition." Right. And he goes, "There's no such thing as competition."
No.
Right. And I think that goes into, with the patient, right? Like you just got to find your person, right?
Totally.
Like you got to find like the right clinic for you, the right person.
Who inspires you, who you're drawn to.
It's like, like some people might work great for me. Some people might work great for you. Some people might work great for somebody else, but there is, you hit it, right? There is somebody for everybody. You just got to explore and find that place. And everybody, and I think as like practitioners, as we all start to like level up our game, they say when the patient is ready, the doctor will come. And then when the doctor is ready, the patient will come. So if we keep learning and growing both as patients and as practitioners, like those people are going to naturally find us. And it's like, if somebody ends up like, like maybe you don't have a success, or that person doesn't work out with you, and they end up like having great success with somebody else, that's awesome. Like you just want to find the people that like you can like get inspired, like you could help. And then as like the patient, just try different people. You're going to find somebody.
Or that person may have gone through that particularly exact range of emotions or exact situation that you just went through, right? And that could be someone who's very compassionate at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's no competition.
No, there's no competition.
No.
It's just
we're all just trying to get healthy and happy and contribute positively to society.
Yeah. And when you're in that like grounded state, you're just like, you know what, the right people are going to show up. And I think for a patient who's looking, don't stop. Like there is somebody there. Like listen to podcasts.
And
talk
there's
to your
work
friends.
out there. Like I think there's better work out now than ever before.
Yeah.
With the with some of the things that we use in our clinic, but there's other things that we haven't discovered yet, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, we're learning new things every
all the
day.
time.
We're getting exposed.
Yeah.
It's cool in this field. We're getting like crossing paths with amazing people and getting amazing
people,
technology. And there is such a level of inspiration and like health and restoration.
Creativity.
And I think that's why you kind of, like over the last like 4 or 5 years in the health space, you felt tension, right? Because the shackles of the old model are breaking.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
And people, and it's coming from the people. Like people want more. They want better.
They want solution-based care.
Solution-based. I'm not even going to call it
And
different.
My
I'm not going to
favorite
call it
word
different.
and
I'm
my
just going to call it
favorite
better.
phrase.
And
right?
they want brain-based wellness.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, no, it is true. I feel like as outdated systems crumble, it's an opportunity for a lot of creativity in the health and wellness world. And, we were just talking with someone this morning, and they were not, they've never even tried red light, right?
Yeah.
They're creatives, and they're sound engineers, and they're
Yes.
developing a technique and having great success with Parkinson's people. And then they're intersecting with the health and wellness people. And so that creativity and that blend of collaborative techniques can be groundbreaking if you're open to collaboration and open to being inspired. So that was inspiring for me, that call.
No, and that's what I always say, like working in a talk therapy practice, my first thing with a new client is I may not be the right fit for you. I will 1,000% recommend you keep trying until you find the right fit, because there is someone out there for you. And I'm not going to take it personally. It's like dating. Like, I just encourage you to keep going. But in terms of like brain-based wellness too, I try to hit this point home. If you want to get better, why would you not? When I was at my worst of worst, I was like, I will try anything. And if it doesn't work, I can at least check off the box and say I tried. But when you're working with the brain-based wellness system, you're not doing anything that could be at that point, you're not doing anything that could be harmful. The only thing it could do is nothing, or it could help. So why wouldn't you try it?
Exactly. It's kind of a no lose situation, right? Like it's like, it either doesn't work or it's like, groundbreaking for you.
Although I've never met someone who hasn't at least felt like a positive change to some extent.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Whether they acknowledge it or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really exciting. So there's a lot of groundbreaking, innovative technologies. Noah, what are some of the more recent things that you've been excited about?
Most excited about.
Yeah.
That you've recently found.
So that I've recently found. I mean, one of the big things that we're working with a lot is different forms of intermittent hypoxic, hyperoxic therapy in those areas. So different ways to deliver oxygen into the body, creating more of a demand with it. A cool system that we've actually implemented in our body or in our practice that's helped a lot with some chronic pain patients is oxygen foot baths through it's a system called the Bimini. And it's cool. They're designed to actually go in a bathtub and you soak in it. I got introduced to it through some athletes that I work with. They were using it and really liked it. And one of them really like just watching their progression from the year they started using it into the next year, winning a number of gold medals and kind of watching that start to happen. I was like, wow, this is really cool to watch the change in those areas. We started.
And what is it?
It's a oxygen concentrator that basically you put the little tubes into water and you soak in it, and it creates oxygen nanobubbles. And so there's a physical component where they actually dissolve in through the skin and get absorbed in there. So how hyperbaric kind of works, and it forces oxygen into the tissue, right?
Yeah.
This uses
Through
the
pressure.
process of diffusion, and it diffuses through the skin. And it's fantastic because
Through water,
right?
Okay.
And so in our office, we didn't have room for obviously a bathtub in our office. And they were saying, and the guy that developed the system, he said, hey, we have a lot of practitioners that just do, they put big buckets and they'd go up to the calves and they just soak feet in. Yeah. Right. And so, one of my biggest changes is I had an ALS patient that we were working with, and they had full fungus on the nails and on the fingernails and the feet. And we were just trying to get oxygen anyway, because they couldn't be in a hyperbaric chamber because the pressure was too much for their system when they were struggling with the labored breathing.
Okay.
It was too much for them in that area. So it was a really cool thing where we put their feet in the water, and we're just like, hey, let's just see if we can get some oxygen to the feet,
in a really
so
gentle
they can get some
way.
better movement. That's the furthest away from the heart. They're already having weaknesses, things like that. And we did about, I think it was 6 or 8 sessions of it. And he comes in one day and he's moving his hands and feet better. Great. And then he goes, you guys got to see something. He's like, look at my fingers.
Fungus cleared up.
completely clear. And the
Nice.
toenail fungus, and you know how hard toenail fungus and those things are to get rid of, right?
So,
Yeah,
it's so
like,
hard.
It is hard. I'm just like, you actually can't fix this. Like,
I can help you with almost anything, but not
toenail fungus is like out of the thing. But his hands had never touched the water,
and they cleared up
and
too?
they cleared up too. So that was a big thing for me.
Interesting.
And one of the things that I
Okay,
will
so
tell.
the toenail fungus, go to Noah.
Yeah, now we're gonna get it. So people are gonna be flying in for like toenail fungus cases and all
A
of
run on
that.
toenail fungus.
But the other thing that we've actually seen is with neuropathy.
Okay,
People with
interesting.
like
With the
foot
Bimini, okay.
like foot neuropathy. It is like I'll just say it's like a magic bullet.
Interesting.
We've probably had like 15. We have probably had 15 or 20 cases. I've had it since probably late November.
Okay.
So only about 5-6 months at this point. And we probably had 15 or 20 cases of neuropathy that have.
Yeah, because that's tough.
It's tough.
Neuropathy's tough.
And so doing the brain-based work, doing some like Vasper Live O2,
And
then put them in the PM. So doing like
Yeah.
PMF, Vasper Live O2, some light bed, and then putting their feet in the water after
And it's
that.
big change.
And I mean, it has been magical. To the
Interesting.
point to where I had a guy who would come in and he was actually like, his neuropathy was so bad, he was unstable, losing the ability to
Yeah.
walk. Like his feet were numb. And this guy was running marathons like
Ugh.
3 or 4 months before this all happened. And it was just
Oh,
a
it just was
quick
quick.
decline.
Okay.
And we got him, light bed, Vasper,
Mm-hmm.
PMF, and then oxygen foot bath. We started to reset the muscles, like balance out all those areas. And he's now running like 6 miles 3 times a day. Right? Like, and we're going from
With
like,
feeling in his
with,
feet.
yeah, where
Yeah.
he was coming in and he like, barely walked.
Okay, that's really
Started,
interesting.
and so that's a cool therapy that I'm really excited about right now and how we can do more with it. And it just started when I got like kind of introduced to it and I was just watching an athlete that they'd sponsored and I was like, I watched her compete for a long time and when I noticed she got the sponsor, I was kind of like tracking when I got introduced to the technology, I started to track, like, I was like, wow, when did she start doing this? And then like, you just saw these exponential changes. And, I've got a couple of my NFL guys have them now and
Cool.
like, they love them. One of my NFL guys, his son had a bunch of like skin rashes and stuff. They put their son in it. It's all gone.
Wow.
Like the skin rashes,
It's
everything is
interesting.
gone.
It sounds so that's the thing. Sometimes some of those simplest things, like you can do all the advanced work and the ready to go, but sometimes you just need a transport system, right?
Yeah.
To kind of finish it off.
Yeah, and that's and for me, I think that's a big thing that I'm always looking at is different ways to get oxygen into the body.
Into the body,
right?
yeah.
Like, and because it's like, okay, so we got like Live O2 Vasper, we've got like hyperbaric, like we got these oxygen foot bath, like or this oxygen bathing, like it's cool. And I mean, I got introduced to the oxygen baths initially through the cocoon baths in Budapest.
Yeah.
And they've got some amazing research on how it resets the white blood cells, that kind of stuff. And so, obviously we didn't have room to build bathtubs, or I probably would have put cocoon baths in. And then I got introduced
last time I talked to you, you said you were getting 10 cocoon.
Yeah, I was like, well, it was supposed to be 3, but
vision.
we just obviously like with the space requirements and what it would take, and then I got introduced to this, and it's pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Like like every clinic can have one.
Well, there you go. Some of the simplest things sometimes, right?
And also for a lot of people too, it's like you could probably
Have one in your home?
right?
Yeah.
And like that's what a lot of the athletes do is they just put them in their bathtub and they come
Yeah.
home and soak in their bathtub like nightly after practice.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my NFL guys like get them because it's a easy way. Like hyperbaric's great, but you don't have to like put yourself into a tube, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a great therapy, but it's a little restrictive to a lot of people, and
For
it's but this is a cool technology that like I've found recently that I really like as well, that we're seeing really cool results with. And it was one of those ones where I didn't really know what to expect. It was
but
again,
why
it was like
not,
I was like, you know what? I was like, we can put this in. I've seen some good results. Let's see what happens. And it's not going to hurt anything. And it's like, and we've gotten some really cool results with neuropathy and skin
that's
stuff.
interesting, the neuropathy and the toenail fungus. Yeah, some of the newer technologies that we just got this bioregulation therapy that we're having really, really great results with, like the very sensitive nervous system that can't calm down, or the person who's so sick that they just are very triggered and very, very reactive. So we've gotten a lot of really good results. It's like a low voltage PMF with biofeedback in the system. So the person's body informs the session. And so we've gotten really good results with just like people coming in after 1 or 2 sessions, just full optimism and happiness restored, just a change in their skin. And so in combination with a lot of the other modalities, I'm really excited to see what continued results we get. Along with, I'm excited about the vibroacoustic therapy. I don't have that machine yet, but the effects it can have on the neurology and putting people in a balanced nervous system.
I always think it's funny too when like stuff starts like it's always weird how like the consciousness kind of happens.
Totally.
Because you're like, have you heard of Solo Dome? And I was like, I got like introduced.
Well, because
to
some
these...
of the people that you work with are just connecting with them now.
Yeah, and so it was like one of those ones where I was like, I had like got a text message between one of the founders and like another colleague friend of mine. And talking about it, and they're like, "Hey, you got to experience this technology." And then you're like on the pot. You're like,
"Let's go to LA, guys."
Yeah,
Natalie, Noah, pack up your bags.
Let's just jump on a jet right now, and go. So we'll go skiing tomorrow, and then we'll go recover on Sunday in LA.
Vacation. We're going to teach Noah how to ski. So we'll do it really quickly. QNRT reset before and after. Any muscle shut down, we'll get them reactivated. So we'll teach you how to ski. Take a cold plunge. Maybe do a sauna.
There we go.
Head to LA.
And do some vibroacoustic therapy.
The sound immersion.
Yeah, I'm here for it. But it is kind of cool how some of those things line up, right?
Yeah.
Like that, right? Like I think when you talk about like just the vibration, right? Like when you find your people, right?
Yeah.
The people that you're on like that vibrational level with, right? And so it's like all of us, like we maybe haven't talked for a while, and then we like hey, like jump on it, like connect and like call, and then we're all like.
There's so much to talk about.
We're on the same thing. It's like, wow, we just like, we're on the phone for like an hour and a half, just like sharing all the cool things that we're doing with. And I think that's another thing as you start to get healthier, you just start to vibrate higher and higher and higher.
It's that creativity.
It's the creativity. So I feel like the field of health and consciousness is so exciting right now because there's so many technologies that are being developed that people are in a state of positivity and health and consciousness and healing, and what's coming out right now. And not only that, but everyone's connecting, right? And so I feel like there's this whole network and web of people that are ready to be healthy and help people be healthy. And that whole field is very exciting. And the social connection, right? The healing through the social connection of that process is where I think it becomes very fulfilling.
Yeah. Champion people, right? Like just just like, For me, like I love going to work every day because it's like you just get to help people, right? Like that is like,
and the positivity that is surrounding that, right?
Yeah.
Where people are feeling better and then they're so excited. And
it was
happiness.
It was interesting. Like my parents were like down in Austin. They had taken a little beach vacation in South Texas to get out of the winter in Kansas. And my mom was like, and get out of like.
Do they drink Curious Elixirs or Jim Beam?
Yeah, I don't know, probably both. and so I know my accent comes out like my country boy accent comes out.
South Texas.
Yeah, so my country boy accent comes out a little bit like every once in a while, but. They had hung out, or they were just doing like a bunch of like work, like doing like some of the like machines, just kind of doing some restoration stuff before they headed home. And my mom, like, she called me when they were driving home, and she's like, I just want to like tell you something. It's really cool, like being in your office. She's like, there's so much like laughter and like joy and happiness like in there. She's like, every 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes, somebody's laughing, somebody's having fun. Like,
that's awesome.
And she's just like the energy that she's like, I'm just really proud of you. Like, what
amazing.
you've created. And she's like, there needs to be more places like that. And that's what we always joke. We're like kind of like the anti-medicine. It's like, it's like I wear jeans and a t-shirt in my office, right? And like we laugh, we have fun, we make jokes, but we're serious, right?
Yeah, we're dead serious.
We tackle the most serious cases and like we deal with like the highest level like things in our office, but we have fun. And as we always say like laughter is the best medicine, right? And so getting those people who are really struggling, finding something to make them laugh, finding some way to give them hope, find some way to like do that. It's just like being with people is so important, and just like being a place where they can like they can put their cross down and they can like
Yeah.
get support and they can just be cared for. And then they can find something to laugh about.
supported.
They can
Yeah.
find something to smile about. Like
Yeah.
even the smallest little victories, right? Like, okay, I'm like, I haven't moved my, like foot in a year and now my big toe's doing
Yeah.
this, right? Like a little bit, like, let's celebrate that. Like,
Yeah.
like let's get like enthusiastic. Let's get like excited. Let's bring like a lot of joy into the world. And I don't know, that's just me. Like that's I
what
clearly
we're all
get
so excited
Yeah,
about, right?
yeah.
That's that is the true future of health.
Yeah, exactly.
Is being excited about healing in the healing process and collaborating with like-minded people and getting everyone we work with and surrounding us to that state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no better feeling than helping people. And again, you don't need to be practicing what we do to help people feel better. I always say it may take you 1 second to say something to someone and it can last in their mind for a lifetime. Like give people compliments, spread joy, be kind.
Yeah.
And that in itself can make you feel better. And again, you start engaging with more people, living a better life, like having fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to.
Well, thank you so much, Noah.
Yeah.
We're so happy. We're going to teach you how to ski this weekend.
Yes.
And then we'll continue on all our adventures.
And then I'm going to come up here all the
Are
time
you
once
gonna
I
be-
learn to
and
ski.
then you'll be
And then
back.
you're going to be like, I'm really tired of you. Can you please go away?
Never, never,
Lock
never.
the door.
Yeah.
Well, here
Nobody's home. Pull the curtains down. No.
No, we would never do that to you.
No, it's fun. I so appreciate both of you, and like
Yeah.
I like value our friendship tremendously, and it's been so awesome to like get to spend time with you guys and just
Yeah.
like to just to share all of this together and on this
For
journey
sure.
together and just
see
have
what comes. Like who
Yeah.
knows what's going to develop in the future?
Yeah.
What new things we'll discover, and
Yeah.
we'll come back here in 10 years, and we'll be a totally different, totally
exactly
different
rising
mindset.
tides raise all
Yeah.
ships, right?
Well,
and so just having
sure.
it all together.
Well, if these conversations aren't the future of health, I don't know what is. Anyways, thank you so much for being here, Noah. We'll see you again soon, I'm
All
sure.
right. Sounds good.
Yes, Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
thank you
Okay.
guys.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Centered Presents The Future of Health. If you're interested in learning more, please visit us at drmollybrown.com or email us at media@drmollybrown.com.